You know the feeling. You are saying something that matters. Maybe you are explaining your side. Maybe you are making a point in a meeting. Maybe you are trying to be honest with someone who keeps misunderstanding you. And while you speak, you can feel it happening. Their eyes drift. Their face goes flat. They interrupt before you finish. They nod, but nothing is landing. So you try harder. You add more details. You explain it again. You soften your tone. Then you sharpen it. You search for the perfect sentence that will finally make them understand. But somehow, the more you speak, the less they seem to hear. That is a painful place to be. Because being ignored does not only make you question your words, it makes you question your weight in the room. And here's the part most people miss. People do not ignore you only because your words are weak. Sometimes they ignore you because your message arrives with pressure, uncertainty, fear, or the quiet need to be approved. They hear the sentence, but they do not feel the presence behind it. And before you learn how to speak so people cannot ignore you, you have to understand why attention leaves in the first place. There is a moment when people stop listening before they physically leave the conversation. They may still be looking at you. They may still be nodding. They may even say, "I understand." But something inside them has already stepped back. You can feel it. Their answers get shorter. Their face becomes harder to read. Their attention turns polite instead of present. And when this happens, most people make the same mistake. They speak more. They add another explanation, then another example, then a softer tone, then a sharper one. They think the problem is that the other person does not understand the point. But often, the point is not the problem. The pressure around the point is, people do not only hear your words, they feel your approach. They feel whether you are calm or desperate, whether you are communicating or trying to force a reaction, whether you are making a point or trying to prove your worth through the point. That is why a sentence can be true and still not land. You can be right and still make someone defend. You can be clear and still feel heavy to listen to. You can explain something honestly and still make the room feel cornered. So the first shift is simple. Before you try to be more persuasive, become less pressurized. Not weaker, less pressurized. A weak person hides the message. A pressurized person overloads the message. A grounded person delivers the message without asking the other person to carry their insecurity. That is the kind of voice people have a harder time ignoring. If you've been enjoying the daily videos here on the channel, leave a like. And if you want to keep learning how to communicate with more calm, clarity, and quiet confidence, subscribe now so you don't forget. Now that you're here, settle in. Because we're about to go deeper into one of the quiet reasons people stop listening long before the conversation is over. Sometimes your words are doing too many jobs at once. You are trying to explain the point, but you are also trying to prove you are not wrong. You are trying to be understood, but you are also trying to protect yourself from feeling dismissed. You are trying to stay calm. But underneath the calm, there is a quiet panic that says, "Please, finally hear me." People feel that. They may not name it, but they feel it in your pace, in your extra details, in the way you keep circling back, in the way you cannot let the sentence rest. And the more your words chase attention, the more the other person may pull away. This is why some people can say very little and still be heard. Their voice does not beg. Their point does not run after approval. They say what needs to be said, and then they let the sentence breathe. That pause matters, because silence after a clear sentence is not emptiness. It is weight. So before you speak, ask yourself one question. What does this sentence need to do? Does it need to clarify? Does it need to set a boundary? Does it need to ask a direct question? Does it need to slow the room down? Does it need to name the real issue? A sentence without a purpose becomes a flood, and people ignore floods. They wait for them to pass. But a sentence with one clear purpose lands differently. It has shape. It has restraint. It gives the other person something they can actually respond to. So instead of saying, "You never listen to me, and every time I try to explain, you interrupt me, and now I have to repeat myself again," say, I want to finish this thought before we respond to it. Instead of saying, I already told you this, but it feels like nothing I say matters. Say, let me make the main point simple. Instead of filling every silence because you are afraid they missed it, let the silence work. Let the sentence stand. This will feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to earning attention by explaining more, softening more, proving more, or becoming more intense. But people do not usually ignore the person who speaks with calm weight. They ignore the message that feels scattered, pressured, or emotionally expensive to receive. The first skill is not finding a perfect script. The first skill is removing the panic from your words. Because the moment your words stop chasing, they start carrying more weight. There is another reason people ignore you that has nothing to do with volume. You can speak calmly. You can speak politely. You can even have the right words. But if people cannot find the center of what you are saying, their attention starts to drift. Not because they are stupid, because the human mind looks for shape. It wants to know, where is this going? You have probably been in a conversation where someone talks for 5 minutes and you are still waiting for the point to appear. They are giving history, context, reasons, side details, a small apology, then another piece of background. And somewhere inside, you start to feel tired. Not because you hate them, because they are making you work too hard to understand what matters. This happens more often than people realize, especially when someone is afraid of being rejected. They bury the real sentence under too much preparation. They say, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, and I know there are a lot of factors here, and maybe I'm not explaining this perfectly, but I was just thinking. By the time they reach the point, the listener is already half gone. Here is the quiet truth. If your message has no spine, people will not know where to place their attention. A strong communicator does not always speak forcefully, but he does give the listener a clear path. He does not make people search through fog to find the one sentence that matters. So, before you explain, frame. That is the practical shift. Frame first, then explain. A frame tells the other person how to listen. It prepares the mind. It gives the conversation a shape before the details arrive. You can say, here is the main point. Or, I want to be clear about one thing. Or, there are 3 things that matter here. Or, I'm not trying to argue. I'm trying to clarify the part that keeps getting missed. Those sentences are small, but they change the room, because now the listener knows where to put their attention. You are not throwing information at them. You are guiding them, and people are much less likely to ignore a message when they understand its shape early. This is why confident communication often sounds simpler than insecure communication. Insecurity adds decoration. Confidence removes clutter. When you are unsure of your right to speak, you start padding every sentence. You apologize before you make a point. You explain before anyone has asked. You soften the truth until it loses its edge. You try to make the sentence safe for everyone, and in doing that, you make it hard to hear. There is nothing wrong with being kind. But kindness is not the same as blurring the message. You can be respectful and still be clear. You can be gentle and still have a spine. You can say something difficult without wrapping it in so many layers that no one knows what you are actually saying. The goal is not to become blunt. The goal is to become findable. When you speak, can people find the point? Can they find the request? Can they find the boundary? Can they find the decision? Can they find what you need them to understand? If they cannot, they may not be ignoring you on purpose. They may be lost inside your delivery. So use this simple test before you speak. If they remember only one sentence, what sentence should it be? That question forces you to locate the center. And once you locate the center, start there. Not with the apology. Not with the emotional weather. Not with the entire backstory. Start with the sentence that gives the conversation direction. For example, instead of saying, I know everyone is busy and I don't want to create a problem, but I've been thinking about the way we keep handling this and I'm not sure it's working. Say, the way we are handling this is creating the same problem again. Then explain, instead of saying, I might be wrong, but I feel like maybe I was not fully heard earlier. Say,
I want to return to the point I made earlier because I do not think it was fully addressed. Then explain, instead of saying, I don't want to make this awkward, but I just feel like there's something off. Say, there is something we need to talk about directly. Then explain. Notice what changes. The message does not become aggressive. It becomes easier to follow. A clear frame lowers confusion, and when confusion goes down, attention has somewhere to land. This is one of the reasons some people are listened to even when they speak softly. They do not waste the first 30 seconds asking permission to have a point. They begin with direction, then they add context. That order matters, because context before direction can feel like wandering, but direction before context feels like leadership. And leadership in conversation is not about controlling the other person. It is about helping the conversation not collapse into fog. So, if you want people to stop ignoring you, stop hiding the main point inside the safest version of the sentence. Say it cleanly, then support it. Let people know where you are taking them. Because the clearer the path, the harder it becomes for attention to wander. There is a specific kind of sentence people almost never hear well. It may be true, it may be justified, it may come from years of frustration. But the moment it sounds like an accusation, the other person stops listening to understand and starts listening to defend themselves. You can see it happen. Their jaw tightens, their eyes narrow, their body pulls back. Their answer comes too fast, and now you are no longer in a conversation. You are in a defense trial. This is one of the most common reasons people feel ignored. They speak from a real wound, but the sentence arrives as a verdict. You never listen. You always do this. You don't care. You just want to control everything. You're impossible to talk to. Those sentences may come from pain, but to the other person, they sound like a final judgment. And once people feel judged, they rarely become curious. They become lawyers. They start searching for evidence against your sentence. I don't always do that. That's not what happened. You're exaggerating. You do the same thing. Now the original point is gone. The conversation has shifted from understanding the issue to defending the identity. And when identity feels attacked, attention closes. So the practical shift is this. Stop attacking the person. Name the pattern. That one difference can change the entire conversation. Instead of saying, you never listen to me, say, when I get interrupted before I finish, I lose the sense that my point was actually heard. Instead of saying, you don't care, say, when there is no response after I share something important, I start to feel like it did not matter. Instead of saying, you always make everything about yourself, say, I want to stay with this specific issue before we move to another one. Notice the difference. You are still being honest. You are not pretending everything is fine. You are not swallowing the truth to keep peace, but you are giving the other person something they can respond to without having to defend their entire character. That matters, because if you make the conversation about who they are, they will protect who they are. But if you make the conversation about what happened, what it created, and what needs to change, there is still room to move. A mature sentence usually has 3 parts. What happened? How it landed? What needs to happen now? Not a speech. A clean structure. When I was interrupted, I lost my train of thought. I want to finish the point before we respond to it. That is what happened, how it landed, and what needs to happen now. When the message went unanswered, I was left guessing. Next time, I would rather hear a direct yes, no, or not now. Again, clear. No attack. No performance. No courtroom. People are much more likely to listen when they do not have to protect their dignity from the first sentence. This does not mean you soften every hard truth. Some truths need firmness. But firmness is different from accusation. Firmness says, this matters. Accusation says, you are the problem. And the second one almost always creates resistance. Think about how this works in your own body. If someone says, you are selfish, your mind immediately starts defending. But if someone says, when I shared that, I needed a response, and the silence made me feel alone, there is at least a chance you can hear them. Not always, but more often. Because the second sentence gives you a door. The first sentence gives you a wall. If you want people to stop ignoring you, learn to speak in a way that opens doors without abandoning the truth. That is not weakness. That is precision. A person who has no control over their frustration throws the whole emotional weight of the moment at the other person. A person with calm authority separates the signal from the noise. They do not say everything they feel in the exact shape they feel it. They translate. They take the heat inside them and turn it into language that can actually be received. This is difficult, especially when you feel dismissed, because the part of you that feels ignored wants to make the other person feel the size of what they did. It wants to say the heavy sentence, a sentence that finally proves how tired you are. But heavy sentences are not always strong sentences. Sometimes the strongest sentence is the cleanest one. This keeps happening, and I want us to address it directly. That is calm. That is clear. That is hard to ignore, because it does not attack. It does not collapse. It does not beg. It names the pattern and holds the line. And that is where people begin to feel your weight in the room. Not because you became louder, but because your words became harder to dismiss. One of the quiet reasons people ignore you is that they can feel when you are trying to earn your place while you speak. Not always consciously, but they feel it. You enter the conversation already slightly apologetic. You explain before anyone questions you. You soften every sentence before it has a chance to stand. You keep checking their face to see if you are still allowed to continue. And without meaning to, you teach the room to treat your words as optional. This is painful to admit, because most people do not do this because they are weak. They do it because they have learned somewhere along the way that being direct costs too much. Maybe when they spoke clearly, someone called them rude. Maybe when they asked for what they needed, someone made them feel difficult. Maybe when they disagreed, the room became cold. So now, instead of speaking from the center, they speak from negotiation. They negotiate for permission. Permission to have a point. Permission to take up space. Permission to be inconvenient. Permission to not make everyone comfortable. And when your words come wrapped in that need for permission, people hear the hesitation before they hear the message. This is where your identity enters the conversation. Not the identity you say you have. The identity your delivery reveals. If you believe your words are a burden, you will speak like you are trying not to be too heavy. If you believe disagreement makes you unsafe, you will soften the truth until it becomes unclear. If you believe people will leave when you are honest, you will become careful in a way that makes you hard to fully hear. And then you wonder why people ignore you. But they are not always ignoring the value of your thought. Sometimes they are responding to the way you presented it as something already half withdrawn. A message that does not trust itself is difficult for others to trust. So here is the practical question. Am I communicating, or am I auditioning for permission? That question can change the whole tone of your voice. Because when you are communicating, your goal is clean. You are trying to transfer meaning. When you are auditioning, your goal is divided. You are trying to transfer meaning while also trying to be approved, liked, forgiven, understood, accepted, and protected from rejection. That is too much weight for one sentence. And people feel that weight. They may not know why the conversation feels uncomfortable, but they sense that your words are asking them to do emotional labor before they can even respond to the point. This is why over-politeness can sometimes weaken a message. Not kindness. Kindness is strong, but over-politeness is often fear wearing good manners. It sounds like, "I'm so sorry, and maybe this is nothing, and I completely understand if you disagree, and I don't want to make this a big deal, but..." By the time the real sentence arrives, you have already trained the listener to treat it as something uncertain. Now compare that with, "I want to bring something up clearly because I think it matters." That is not aggressive. It is settled. There is a difference. A settled person does not need to dominate the room. But he also does not ask the room for permission to exist. He speaks as if the point has a right to be considered, not obeyed. Considered. That distinction is important. You are not demanding agreement. You are establishing presence. So before a difficult conversation, do not only ask, "What do I want to say?" Ask, "From what place am I about to say it?" From fear, from resentment, from the need to finally be seen, from the quiet panic of being dismissed again, or from a place of calm ownership. The same sentence changes depending on where it comes from. "I need you to hear me" can sound like a plea, or it can sound like a boundary. "I disagree" can sound like an attack, or it can sound like clarity. "This matters to me" can sound like desperation, or it can sound like self-respect. The words are similar. The inner posture is different, and people respond to posture. They respond to the part of you that arrives before the sentence. This is why learning to be heard is not only a communication skill, it is a self-respect skill. Because if you secretly treat your own words as inconvenient, you will keep trying to decorate them enough to be accepted. But when you respect the message, you can make it simple. You can say, "I want to say this directly. I need a moment to finish the thought. I do not want to argue. I want to be clear. This is important, and I want us to stay with it." These sentences are not loud, but they do not disappear. And that is the shift. You stop speaking like someone hoping not to be dismissed. You start speaking like someone who can survive not being instantly approved. That survival gives your words weight, because people are more likely to listen when they sense that your message is not begging for permission to matter. There is something people forget about being heard. Your words do not enter a neutral room. They enter a body. A tired body, a defensive body, a distracted body, a body that may already be carrying pressure before you even open your mouth. This is why the same sentence can land differently at different times. Say something at the wrong moment, and it becomes pressure. Say the same thing when the person has enough room to receive it, and it becomes clarity. The words did not change. The state did. You have seen this before. You try to bring up something important at the end of a long day. The other person is hungry, tired, answering messages, thinking about work, carrying a problem they have not told you about. You say one sentence. They react like you threw something heavy at them. So you think, they never listen. But sometimes they are not ignoring you because the message has no value. They are ignoring you because their system has no space left. This does not mean you should never speak. It means timing is part of communication. A mature communicator does not only ask, "Is this true?" He asks, "Can this be received right now?" Because a true sentence delivered into the wrong state can become one more thing the other person has to survive. That is not the goal. The goal is not just to say the truth. The goal is to say it in a way that has the best chance of being heard. So before you enter an important conversation, scan the room. Not dramatically, quietly. Is the person rushed? Are they embarrassed? Are they already defensive? Are they distracted? Are you speaking in public when this should be private? Are you trying to solve something serious through a cold text message? Those details matter. A difficult sentence in front of other people can feel like humiliation. The same sentence in private may feel like respect. A direct message over text can feel sharp. The same message spoken calmly, with a steady voice, may feel completely different. A correction during stress can feel like attack. The same correction after the room settles can feel like guidance. This is why people who are heard consistently are not only clear, they are aware of timing, setting, and emotional temperature. They know when to speak now. They know when to wait. And they know how to open the door before walking through it. That last part is important. Sometimes people ignore you because you enter too abruptly. You begin with the issue, but the other person first needed a doorway. A doorway can be simple. Is now a good time to talk about something important? Or, I want to bring something up, but I do not want to rush through it. Or, this matters to me. Can we give it 10 focused minutes? These sentences do not weaken your message. They prepare the room for it. They lower resistance before the real point arrives. And when resistance goes down, attention has a chance to come back. This is especially important when the subject is sensitive. If someone already expects criticism, they will hear even neutral words through that filter. If someone already feels cornered, they will treat your clarity as pressure. If someone already feels unseen, they may experience your point as one more demand. So your first job is not always to deliver the message. Sometimes your first job is to regulate the entrance. The entrance determines whether the conversation starts as a fight, a performance, or a real exchange. This is why a calm opening is powerful, not a long opening. A calm one, and I say this in a way that is not an attack. I want to understand your side, but I also need to be clear about mine. I do not want this to become a fight. I want us to stay with the issue. These are not magic phrases, but they give the nervous system a different signal. They say, you do not have to defend before you listen. And that changes the room. If you want people to stop ignoring you, stop treating communication as only a sentence problem. It is also a state problem, a timing problem, a setting problem, a pressure problem, because you are precise. There is a difference between delaying the truth because you are scared and preparing the truth because you want it to land. One is avoidance, the other is skill. So the next time you feel the urge to force the conversation open, ask yourself, am I choosing the moment or am I reacting to my discomfort? That question can save the message, because when you speak from urgency, people often hear pressure. But when you speak from timing, people are more likely to hear leadership. And leadership in conversation is not about controlling the other person. It is about creating enough space for the truth to be received. Now we need to talk about what to actually say, because understanding pressure, clarity, accusation, identity, and timing matters. But at some point, you still have to open your mouth. And this is where many people lose their center. They either become too soft, hoping not to upset anyone, or they become too sharp, hoping force will finally make people listen. Neither one creates real attention. Too soft, and people miss the weight of your words. Too sharp, and people protect themselves from your words. The goal is a third way. Clear, calm, difficult to dismiss. A sentence people cannot easily ignore usually has three qualities. It is direct enough to locate, calm enough to receive, specific enough to respond to. If one of those is missing, the message gets weaker. If you are direct but not calm, people may defend. If you are calm but not direct, people may miss the point. If you are direct and calm but not specific, people may not know what to do with what you said. So here is the first practical structure. Name the moment. State the point. Hold the line. Not with aggression, with steadiness. For example, if someone keeps interrupting you, do not explode after the fifth interruption. Do not disappear either. Say, I want to finish the thought before we move on. That sentence works because it does not attack their character. It names the moment. It states the point, and it holds the line. If they interrupt again, you do not need a longer speech. You repeat calmly, I'm going to finish this first. That is not rude. That is presence. People often ignore the person who keeps adjusting themselves to avoid tension. They pay more attention to the person who can stay calm without giving up the line. Here is another situation. You make a point in a meeting, and someone moves past it as if you never spoke. Instead of shrinking back, say, I want to bring us back to the point I just made because it affects the decision. Notice the wording. You are not saying you ignored me. You are not accusing the room. You are directing attention. That is powerful, because people can resist accusation, but it is harder to resist clear direction. Another phrase, before we decide, I want to make sure this part is addressed. Simple, clean, adult. No pleading, no drama. Now think about personal conversations. Someone gives you a vague answer when you need clarity. You could say, you never give me a straight answer. That may be how it feels, but it will probably create defense. Instead, say, I need a direct answer here even if the answer is uncomfortable. That sentence has weight. It gives the other person a path. They do not have to guess what you want. You are telling them. Or when someone dismisses what you are saying with a quick, "You're overthinking it," you can say, "You may see it that way, but I still want to explain why this matters to me." That is calm authority. You are not begging them to agree. You are not fighting for permission to care. You are simply refusing to let the point vanish. This is the difference between being reactive and being anchored. A reactive person tries to win the emotional moment. An anchored person protects the meaning of the conversation. So use this question while you speak. What am I trying to protect right now? My pride or the point? If you protect your pride, your tone may become sharp. If you protect the point, your words become cleaner. You stop trying to punish the person for not listening. You start making the message easier to hear and harder to avoid. There is a sentence I want you to remember. I'm not trying to make this bigger. I'm trying to make it clearer. That sentence can lower tension in a difficult conversation because it tells the other person you are not there to create drama. You are there to create clarity, and clarity is difficult to ignore. Use it when someone says you are making a big deal out of something. Use it when the conversation starts drifting away from the real issue. Use it when you feel the old urge to over-explain. I'm not trying to make this bigger. I'm trying to make it clearer. Then return to the point. Do not chase every reaction. Do not answer every emotional side road. Do not let the conversation become about your tone if your tone is steady and your point is valid. Stay with the line. Calmly. This is not about controlling people. It is about refusing to disappear inside the conversation. And when you learn to do that, your words begin to carry a different kind of authority, not the authority of volume. The authority of someone who knows what they mean, says it cleanly, and does not abandon it the moment the room becomes uncomfortable. Once you know what to say, the next question is how to carry it. Because the same sentence can sound completely different depending on the person behind it. A sentence can sound calm, or needy, clear, or controlling, firm, or wounded. And sometimes people ignore you not because the sentence is wrong, but because the delivery makes the sentence harder to trust. This is where tone, pace, silence, and posture begin to matter. Not in a theatrical way, in a human way. Think about this. Someone says, "I need to talk to you." If their voice is tight, fast, and loaded, your body prepares for conflict before the conversation even begins. But if they say, "I want to talk through something clearly," with a steady voice and grounded pace, the room receives a different signal. The message may still be serious, but it does not feel like an ambush. People listen better when they do not feel emotionally attacked before the point arrives. So, the first adjustment is pace. Slow down by 10%, not so much that you sound artificial. Just enough that your words stop rushing ahead of your control. When you speak too fast in a tense moment, people often feel the pressure before they understand the point. A slower pace tells the room, "I am not losing myself here." That signal matters, because people may not trust every word you say, but they often trust the state you are speaking from. The second adjustment is silence. Most people are afraid of silence because silence feels like rejection. So they fill it. They explain again. They soften again. They defend again. They add one more sentence that weakens the sentence before it. But silence after a clear statement is not failure. It is space. If you say, "I want to finish the thought before we move on," then stop. Let the sentence stand. If you say, "I need a direct answer here," then stop. Do not rescue the other person from the weight of your own clarity. The pause gives your words gravity. The third adjustment is posture, not performance. Posture. If your body collapses while your words try to be firm, people feel the contradiction. If your shoulders shrink, your eyes keep searching for approval, and your voice rises at the end like a question, the message loses force. You do not need to look dominant. You need to look settled. Feet grounded, breath low, eyes steady, jaw relaxed, Hands still enough that your body is not arguing with your words. A settled body makes a clear sentence easier to believe. This is especially important when someone tries to pull you into emotional chaos. They interrupt. They mock the point. They change the subject. They say, "Why are you making this such a big deal?" That is where many people lose it. They start defending the fact that they are speaking. But you do not need to defend your right to be clear. You return to the line. Calmly, "I'm not making it bigger, I'm trying to make it clearer." Then stop. If they try to move away again, "I still want us to address the original point." Then stop. This is how you become harder to ignore, not by overpowering the other person, by becoming difficult to move off your own center. There is a quiet authority in someone who does not escalate just because the other person escalates. That kind of person changes the emotional temperature of the room. They do not chase. They do not collapse. They do not throw their whole nervous system into the conversation. They stay. And because they stay, their words start to matter more. Here is a simple practice. Before a difficult sentence, take one breath you do not announce. Not a dramatic breath, just enough to return to yourself. Then speak one sentence. One. Not the entire history. Not every supporting argument. One sentence with direction. Then let it breathe. For example, "I want to be heard before this decision is made." Pause. "This is the part I do not think we have addressed." Pause. "I am willing to talk about this, but not if we keep interrupting each other." Pause. The rhythm feels different. It does not beg. It does not attack. It gives the listener something solid to respond to, and the more solid your delivery becomes, the less your message depends on emotional force. This is the deeper skill. You stop trying to make people listen through intensity. You make it easier for them to listen through clarity, pace, and steadiness. Because people can ignore noise. They can dismiss panic. They can resist pressure. But calm weight is harder to brush aside. So when you speak, do not only ask, "What word should I use?" Ask, "What state am I asking these words to carry?" If the state is panic, the words will shake. If the state is resentment, the words will cut. If the state is approval-seeking, the words will bend. But if the state is grounded, even a simple sentence can hold the room. That is why being heard is not only about language. It is about presence. And presence is what keeps your words from disappearing the moment someone else becomes uncomfortable. There is one final mistake people make when they want to be heard. They begin to measure their worth by whether the other person finally listens. That is dangerous, because then communication stops being communication. It becomes a test of your value. If they listen, you feel real. If they ignore you, you feel small. If they misunderstand you, you feel like you disappeared. And once that happens, your words become heavy with something no conversation can fully carry. You are no longer only trying to make a point. You are trying to be confirmed. That is why being ignored can feel so painful. It is not only the sentence that was dismissed. It is the quiet question underneath it. Do I matter here? And if that question is too exposed, you may start doing things that weaken your own position. You explain longer than you need to. You keep trying with people who have already shown they are not available. You soften boundaries until they become suggestions. You turn one clear sentence into a whole emotional presentation. You keep handing your piece to someone who has not earned that much access to you. This is where maturity has to enter. Because speaking so people cannot ignore you does not mean forcing every person to listen. Some people are not ignoring you because you spoke poorly. Some people are ignoring you because listening would require them to become more honest than they want to be. Listening would require humility, responsibility, change, a real answer, and not everyone wants to give that. So the goal is not to become impossible to ignore in the sense that you control every room. The goal is to become impossible to ignore within yourself. You know what you said. You know why you said it. You know whether it was clear, calm, specific, and honest. And if the other person still chooses not to engage, You do not keep bleeding words into a closed door. You stop. That stop is not defeat. It is self-respect. There is a sentence that belongs here. I have said this clearly. I am not going to keep repeating it in a way that makes me smaller. You may not always say that out loud, but you need to know it inside. Because if you do not, you will confuse persistence with self-abandonment. Persistence says, "This matters, so I will speak clearly." Self-abandonment says, "This matters, so I will keep shrinking, stretching, bending, and begging until you finally validate it." Those are not the same. A grounded communicator knows when to clarify, and they also know when clarity has already been given. That is a difficult line to learn, especially if you have spent years trying to be understood by people who only listen when your pain becomes convenient for them. But there comes a point where the next explanation is not communication anymore. It is negotiation with your own dignity. And that is where you have to return to yourself, not with bitterness, with steadiness. You can say, "I've explained where I stand," or "I am open to talking when we can both stay with the issue," or "I do not want to keep repeating myself if the point is not being considered." These sentences do not chase. They close the loop. And closing the loop is part of being heard. Because people do not respect a message that you keep weakening in order to make it acceptable. They respect the message you can stand behind without turning cruel. This is not easy. The old impulse will still rise. The impulse to prove, to correct, to send one more text, to explain the part they twisted, to make them finally admit they understood. But sometimes the most powerful communication is the moment you refuse to keep performing clarity for someone committed to misunderstanding you. That does not mean you give up on people too quickly. It means you stop confusing connection with pursuit. A conversation requires two nervous systems willing to participate. If only one person is carrying the whole weight of understanding, it is not a conversation. It is labor. And you were not created to carry every conversation alone. So before we close this, remember the balance. Speak with less pressure. Give your message a spine. Name patterns instead of attacking identity. Choose timing. Carry your words with calm presence. But after all of that, do not abandon yourself trying to make someone receive what they are determined to avoid. Being heard begins with how you speak, but it ends with whether you still respect yourself after you have spoken. In the end, speaking so people cannot ignore you is not about becoming louder. It is not about dominating the room. It is not about having the perfect comeback, the sharpest argument, or the kind of confidence that makes everyone smaller. It is quieter than that. It is learning to speak with a kind of clarity that does not beg, a kind of calm that does not collapse, a kind of firmness that does not need to wound in order to be felt. Because the truth is, people ignore many different things. They ignore noise. They ignore panic. They ignore long explanations that never find their center. They ignore accusations because accusations make them defend. They ignore messages that sound like they are asking for permission to matter. But it becomes harder to ignore someone who is clear, calm, specific, and settled, not because that person controls the room, but because that person is no longer abandoning themselves inside it. That is the deeper shift. You stop trying to make your words heavier by adding more words. You stop trying to earn attention by explaining every possible angle. You stop turning your pain into a courtroom. You stop shrinking your message so no one feels uncomfortable. And you begin to speak from a cleaner place. This is the point. This is what happened. This is what I need to finish saying. This is what I am willing to discuss. This is what I will not keep repeating. Those are simple sentences. But simple does not mean weak. Sometimes simple is what remains after fear has been removed. And when fear leaves the sentence can finally stand. You will not always be heard. That has to be said. There will still be people who interrupt, people who dismiss, people who twist the point, people who only listen when listening costs them nothing. Your job is not to become endlessly available to people who refuse to meet you with honesty. Your job is to make sure that when you speak, you are not helping them ignore you. You are not flooding the room. You are not hiding the point. You are not attacking their identity when you need to name a pattern. You are not choosing the worst moment and expecting the best response. You are not begging for your own words to be allowed into the room. You are speaking with enough self-respect that even if they do not receive it, you do not disappear. That is what changes you. Because after a while, this becomes less about communication and more about identity. You become someone who does not need to chase every reaction. Someone who can pause. Someone who can say one clean sentence and let it breathe. Someone who can remain steady when the room becomes uncomfortable. Someone who can tell the truth without turning cruel. Someone who can be kind without becoming unclear. Someone who can be firm without becoming hard. That kind of person is difficult to ignore. Not because they demand attention, but because their presence has weight. And presence is what people feel before they understand your words. So the next time you are about to speak and you feel that old panic rising, the panic to explain more, soften more, prove more, push harder, pause for 1 second. Ask yourself, what is the one sentence that needs to be heard? Then say it cleanly. Say it calmly. Say it without apology for having a point. And then let it stand. Because being heard is not only about what comes out of your mouth. It is about whether you are still standing behind your own words after they leave you. If this video gave you language for something you have lived but could not fully name, subscribe to the channel and stay close. Share this with 5 people who need to stop shrinking their voice in rooms where they deserve to be heard. Leave a sincere comment below and tell me where you most often feel ignored in conversations, at work, in family, in relationships, or inside yourself. And if there is a topic you want me to explore next, write it in the comments. Because sometimes one clear sentence is enough to remind you that your voice was never supposed to disappear.